Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel, the channel that's all about the art of being ill. My name is Caroline, and today I want to tell you a personal story about what it was like to have depression. So today's topic is going to be a little more serious because I want to share with you what it's like to have a depression. It seems like everybody knows someone who's had depression. And statistically speaking, it is believed that currently at least 10% of the Danish population are suffering from depression right in this moment. And they actually do believe the number is larger due to the fact that a lot of people don't even go to the doctor when they have symptoms of depression. So there's probably a lot of people suffering from depression that we don't know about. Worldwide, it is believed that at least 5% of the adult population is suffering from depression. I want to tell you my story with depression, what it was like for me, how I experienced it, and also how I handle it, what helped me. Maybe you can relate to that. Maybe you can use a few of the tips. Also, if you know somebody who is suffering from depression, I want to give you a few tips on how you can be there for that person. So let's just get started. So I got diagnosed with depression in 2020, shortly after my 30-year-old birthday. I started having symptoms maybe 6 months before I was diagnosed. It actually started with anxiety symptoms that started because of the pandemic. I was very anxious. I was very not thriving. I was sad and scared all the time, and it just increasingly became worse and worse. So I went to the doctor to tell him about, that I was feeling anxious and sad, and I was starting to isolate myself, and I just didn't know how to. It was really hard for me to get out of bed in the morning. It was really hard for me to just go through the day, and he decided to send me to a local psychiatry that we have, and they decided to tell me that there was nothing wrong with me. I was just having a hard time adapting to the pandemic. Not even a week after that, maybe 5 days after that, I had a complete mental breakdown. And I'm pretty sure that the reason that I ended up having a complete breakdown, I'm pretty sure that was because they turned me down, because all hope was out. And I ended up not being able to work. I remember I had this 1 week where I was literally lying on the couch and I didn't do anything but watch TV, take a shower maybe, and I ate maybe once a day. And my doctor tried to get the local psychiatry to re-evaluate me 3 times, but they refused. I was just having a hard time adapting to the pandemic, even though I couldn't even go to work anymore. So that was great. So I ended up getting diagnosed. I had to pay a private psychiatric hospital to help me. So I ended up doing that, and they are the ones who diagnosed me with depression and with an anxiety component. They said it was maybe like a phobia because I was afraid of the pandemic and not anything else in the world. And they also said, we think you might have ADD. So they did some testing for ADD, and I got diagnosed with ADD as well. So that was basically the very short story of how it started and how I got diagnosed. I want to focus a little more about what it's like to actually have a depression. I think it can be individual how you experience it, because it depends a little bit on how severe a case you have, but it's also a little bit hard to describe. But other than the normal symptoms, understandable symptoms, so to speak, is being incredibly tired, like having no energy, not being able to function really, meaning you can't go to work, you don't do your dishes, you don't do laundry, you don't take a walk, you can't really do anything because you can think it, but you don't do it. Your body doesn't react to what your brain wants you to do. It's weird. and also not wanting to eat, those kind of things, and of course being incredibly miserable. If I had to explain what it's like to be in that state of depression, it's a very dark place to be. Everything is just dark. There is, we always say there's always light at the end of the tunnel. No. When you're depressed, you're standing in that tunnel and there's no lights anywhere. And you feel so incredibly alone, and you have no control over yourself. Which is really, really scary, but you don't have control. I mean, I remember thinking maybe you should go for a walk, get some fresh air, get a little bit of sunlight, which is actually a really good idea if you're depressed, but I couldn't get my body to get off the couch and actually go for that walk. That was really scary. So it's like I say, it's like being possessed by something, because you're no longer in control of what you do and how you do it, and like you're just no longer in control. It is such a scary, lonely, and incredibly dark place to be, and it's definitely a place you don't want to stay. Another really scary part is that you lose yourself. You are not the same person when you're depressed as when you are not depressed. And I have family members and friends who can testify that that's true. They couldn't recognize me. You change your personality becomes, well, obviously very sad and negative, and you're gonna have a negative energy as well. It's really hard I think it would be better to ask my family and friends how they felt like I changed, but I know that I changed. And I didn't even recognize myself anymore. The Caroline I was gone, and I couldn't find her. Well, so I want to move on to how I handle it and what helped me going through depression. And first of all, you need help. If you feel depressed, you need to go to your doctor, you need to go see a psychiatrist, because it doesn't just go away. It's not something you can eat your way out of or exercise your way out of, or whatever tips and tricks people think they can give you. It's just not. It's an illness, and you need to take it very seriously, and trust me, you will be grateful that you seek help once you start treatment. What helped me the absolute most was definitely medicine. Antidepressants that I still take to this day. I know that there's like a lot of stigma around antidepressants. There's a lot of myth and a lot of false information out there about it, but I can honestly say that I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for antidepressants. There is nothing I could have done that could have saved my life the way that antidepressants did. I know that people, they say lifestyle can change everything, and I'm not denying that it does help to have a healthy lifestyle, both when it comes to mental and physical illness. But it's not realistic when you're depressed to change your lifestyle. Actually, your lifestyle often becomes more unhealthy when you're depressed, because you reach that point where you just don't care anymore, and you're sad and nothing matters. So, even though it might be able to help you a little bit, it's first of all, it wouldn't be enough, but it's also not realistic. I also recommend therapy. So I'm highly traumatized, and going into therapy and talking about the whole experience can really be helpful. Also in the sense of, I had this identity crisis afterwards, and I think that came from me not only being depressed and anxious, but also the fact that I started treatment for ADD, and all of the sudden my brain was working a little bit more normally than usually, and I all of a sudden I would react to things differently. I would think differently. I just felt like a completely different person. At the same time, I was coming out of this depression. So I had a complete identity crisis, and talking to someone about it, getting that help to find yourself again and finding your identity again, and this new person, and welcoming that new person, getting a therapist to help you with that can be very, 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 very good for you. So I do recommend therapy, definitely. Mindfulness is also something that's really helped me cope, I would say. It's not like a cure, but it really helped me cope. I like to do breathing exercises for my anxiety in particular. And I meditate. I have this kind of like a praying meditation that I do every day that really just helps me calm down and get ready for the day. I also do yoga. What yoga does is it reconnects body, mind, and soul. It's a tool, not a cure, a tool to get to know your body, and when you're traumatized, we tend to not feel comfortable in our bodies, so we tend to like kind of not wanting to feel our bodies. What yoga does is a tool to help you reconnect with your body. And it's helped me so much, just getting to know my body, mind, and my soul, and just staying present. I do think it's changed my life. It's not for everybody, I will recognize that, but you need to figure out what works for you, right? Mindfulness can also be something like taking a walk. I really do love that. Once I started to get the energy and my control back, I took walks every day. Also, just in general, and this is something that's still in progress, I'm trying to live a more simple life, slowing down and do things I enjoy more. So a little bit to the people out there who know someone at this moment that are depressed. So how can you be there for this person? For me, it meant everything that my family and my friends, they didn't go anywhere when I got depressed. They just saw me. I was also anxious and depressed, and they saw me on my terms. They saw me, if I preferred to just do a FaceTime, maybe we would FaceTime. If I wanted them to, if I wanted to hang out, but I was afraid of being in a locked room with them or something like that, we would take a walk. Like, they were just there on my terms. Once you get to the other side, you just realize how amazing it was to have that support. And how amazing it is to come to this, come to the other side. And they're still there. That's just such a beautiful thing. So be there and accept the fact that they might not want to do the same things that they used to. Maybe they don't want to see you that often. But just let them know you're there. Check in with them is the most important thing. What you shouldn't do is you shouldn't try and give them advice. Don't say, what if you started running? What if you started doing yoga? What if you did this? What if you did that? Like blah, blah, blah. Like all these tips and tricks that are very well meaning, and it is obviously because you want to help. But it just is not, it's just not helpful. What this person needs, the person who's depressed, is not for you to try and fix them. It's literally just being there. People who are depressed can be very, very hard to be around. The greatest gift you can give them is that even though they are hard to be around, give them the sense that no matter how hard things become, you will always be there. This next advice, it might be a little bit individual, how people react, but I would just take a chance, really, because I remember when I was rejected from the local psychiatry and I started to get treatment in the private sector. The reason I ended up in the private sector was because my mom researched where you could get help in the private sector, and she scheduled an appointment for an evaluation for me that she paid for. And she just called, she didn't tell me that she did this. She just called me once it was done and said, I've done this, Caroline. you have to, this date, they will send you an email, blah, 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 and I will pay for the evaluation, and then you can always see what you want to do after that. And I am so grateful that she did that, because I had, like, if I had to do research to find out how I could get help, like there was no way I could do that. I did not have the energy for that. So her taking that burden off my shoulder, her doing the research, okay, if we need to seek help in the private sector, who is good, who has good recommendations, blah, 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 and actually contacting them and getting it scheduled and paying for the evaluation so that I could always see what I wanted to do afterwards, but it was all taken care of. I just had to show up at that date and the time. That was definitely the greatest gift I have ever been given. So everyone, that was today's video. It was a bit more serious than I usually do. I promise that the next video will be a little more fun. Mental illness is still surrounded by so much stigma, and people are still feeling ashamed when they have mental illness. And we shouldn't feel that way. We should share our stories so that others out there can know and recognize that, oh, okay, I'm not the only one. So, but I hope you enjoyed the video, even though it wasn't hilariously fun. I will do a fun video next time. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with anyone you know who might enjoy this video, might benefit from it. And also don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I would be very grateful if you do that. And also go follow me on my Instagram. That's also called The Art of Being Ill. I hope you all have a blessed rest of the day, and please take good care of yourself, and I will see you next time on my channel, The Art of Being Ill.